This is an introductory video on how to develop a pattern for intersecting objects, and up to this point we've worked with different shapes and sizes, but only one object at a time. Now we will actually work with intersections and see how objects can interact with each other. You can see in front of us that we have a situation where two prisms are intersecting one another, and just for clarity, I've drawn it in 3D, and as I orbit around, if I look at it directly from the front view, you can see that this line and this line and this part of that line are all true length. However, there are quite a few lines that are foreshortened. For example, this line and this line. Okay. Now, if I switch to the top view, you can see that those lines are true length. Okay. Now we'll go back to the regular AutoCAD drawing, and I'll erase this right side view because we really don't need it. All the information that I'll need is in the top and front view. So I know that these lines are all true length in the top view. Okay, so I just want to take a measurement, and that's a distance of 5. Okay, so I know that my layout of this vertical prism, okay, this vertical prism here, is a length of 5 times 4, so the total length will be 20. Now I can obtain my height dimensions from the front view, okay, and also want to be on my construction layer. And what I will do is I will just draw some horizontal lines out from the front view. And I want to put it on all my points of interest on the vertical prism only right now. Okay, and I'll just draw a vertical line that is perpendicular to the horizontal lines I just drew. Trim off the excess, and again my side length is 5, so I'll just offset this by a distance of 4 times. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Trim off any excess, and you can see I have a grid to work with. Now it's always a good idea to number your drawings, show all your work. So I will number each of my corners on my vertical prism. It's more important to number, I believe, when you're working with the part of the intersection that has the opening in it, and in this case it will be the vertical prism. Okay, you can see the horizontal kind of fits into the vertical prism. So also when you're doing your layout, you need to put any openings in the on the ends, and the reason for this is, if you can imagine that you were cutting your development out of a piece of paper, it would be much easier for you to cut your holes out, like half your hole out on this end and the other half here, rather than trying to cut it out of the middle somewhere. And remember that you're going to fold these up along these lines, so you want to try to put any kind of opening you have on the ends, and you always need to do that. So I want to copy these numbers down with that in mind. And of course you'll have, since you have 4 spaces, you'll have 5 vertical lines, and the last line will be a duplicate of the first one. Okay, so now I have my grid to work with. Now from the top view, I want to measure the distance from here to here, and that is the point where the prism starts to intersect. The horizontal prism intersects the vertical prism down at the very end here, and that is a distance of 3.5355. And what I want to do is just offset from 1 toward 2 that distance. So I'll offset 3.5355. And also you can see that the prism intersects down here at the same distance, so I want to offset from 1 to 4 the same distance. Okay, so now I want to go to my object layer, make that current, and this point projects across to here, okay, and I just determine how far the offset is by my measurement. So, and that corresponds with this point here, okay. So I want to draw a line and then connect back to the beginning, which corresponds with this point. And I want to do the same thing on this end. Okay, and you can tell that when I fold this up at 90-degree angles at lines 2, 3, and 4, that the one lines will join with each other, and this will be one complete cutout, okay, even though it doesn't look so right now. Now I just want to go back in and basically trace the outline of my prism. Okay, and you might want to go back and just put your fold lines back in on your object layer. That's something I like to do. Okay, and finally, just for clarity, you of course don't have to do this. It would be nice if you would just clean your drawing up a little bit. Okay, so now I want to make sure that the length of these lines is what it should be, because this line should be the true length of this line. Okay, so from the method of revolution, I want to determine the true length of that line. Okay, and that length is 4.3301, and the length of this line is also 4.3301, so that's done correctly. Alright, now I want to delete that. I want to go back to my construction layer, make that current, and now I need to work on the development for the horizontal prism. So I will draw some vertical lines from my point of intersections, my points of interest rather, on the horizontal prism. Okay, now I want to draw a horizontal line, trim off any excess. Okay, now I have 4 sides to this prism as well that you can tell from the top and front view, but I'm not sure exactly how long in true length those sides are, so I need to determine that. So I will do that right now. Length of that line is 3.5355. Okay, so I will just offset that distance 4 times. Okay, so now I have that grid to work with. It's not as crucial that you number, in this case, the horizontal prism. This is not the one with the opening in it. However, if you find it necessary, you can feel free to do that. I will actually just work from point to point, and I will start off from this point, and I will say that it corresponds with this point. Then I will go over 1 unit to that one, so I know that that one's the high point. Okay, then it goes back down to the low point. And now you can imagine that line works around to the back, and it will be a high point again. Okay, and finally it'll join back up with the starting point. Okay, so in this case it works out low high, okay, and then back low. And I want to go back to my object layer, make that current, and then I will just do a quick trace over my construction lines. also draw my fold lines back in on my object layer. And then I will move all that off to the side so you can take a look, and that's what it looks like. Now if the intersection was done properly, the length of this line, or all these are the same length of course, but this line and this line should be the same length. So you want to double check that, because those are actually going to fit with one another. So in this view is 4.3301, and in the second prism is also 4.3301. So when you fold up this development, it should work out just as it should. And this concludes this introductory video on how to develop the intersection of two prisms.